Do you remember the very first time you and I encountered the police at the Louisville Public Library?
Oh, yeah.
So they asked us to be a certain place, and we told them no.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Jerry Dorris. This is Tanner Cartwright, and we are elders at Reformation Church in Shelbyville, Kentucky, and this is Snake on the Table.
What's up?
What do you got? What's the snake, brother?
All right, so the question tonight is, what are some strategies for dealing with the police while doing street evangelism?
That's a good question.
It is a good question, because anyone who does street evangelism has talked to the police.
Well, even just, 2 weekends ago in Frankfurt, you and I weren't there. And
Well, I was, but I was late.
You were late, yeah. And then Austin, he wasn't able to go. There was something happened that took him out.
Yep.
And so we didn't have the ones that have had encounters with the police before.
Yep.
They were there and didn't know what to do when the police told them they couldn't be there anymore. So this is important.
First couple of times was pretty intense.
It gets you scared a little bit, but I think the first thing that people need to recognize is that I would treat the police as my friends.
100%.
They're the good guys.
Yeah, I go above and beyond showing respect and honor. The scriptures say give honor where honor is due.
Yeah.
And so, or show honor where honor is due. And so we want to be very careful always to do that with.
Now, that said, I have been in situations where the police were not our friends. They were antagonistic towards us. They were wanting us to do things that would have made it better for them.
Yeah.
But it wasn't better for us.
But frankly, we would have an issue if we were in Frankfurt.
Yeah.
If Ref Church was in Frankfurt. Our police force is fantastic.
Yeah, no, we've got a great situation here. Do you remember the very first time you and I encountered the police at the Louisville Public Library?
Oh, yeah.
So they asked us to be a certain place, and we told them no.
Yes.
We would not do that.
Respectfully. Yep.
Yeah, they were wanting us to be grouped together with everybody in this particular situation, and we didn't have to obey that. That was a kindness that they were asking for, but we did not.
That was the drag show at the Louisville Library.
Yeah, what a story hour.
Yeah. That was like my first experience with anything
same.
like that.
That was pretty intense.
Yes, indeed.
But anyways, I think in general you want to treat them as friends.
Yes.
So there's a video, and I may cut it in here because I think it's helpful. But a body camera video where I was wearing at Cynthiana last year, and a police officer comes up to me and he says, "Who's in charge here?" You know, he comes in all gruff, and I'm like, "You are, sir."
Yeah.
Hey, who's in charge?
You are, sir.
Okay, who are you?
My name is Jerry Dorris.
Okay, can we go talk where we can hear and not scream at each other?
Yes, sir. You're in charge.
Exactly.
And I think that should be our demeanor.
Yep.
And that's a great answer to that question.
Yes.
Because they're wanting, who's in charge here? Because they want to figure it out.
Yeah.
You know?
No, that was a fantastic answer. But even though you may not do everything he says, you're still recognizing he has authority.
Yeah, I think I either heard that from Bobby McCreary or David Day, one of them. It wasn't.
I can see one of them.
It was not original to me.
Yeah, that's a fantastic answer.
Yeah, you are, sir. Yeah, they're just trying to figure out who to talk to.
I feel bad for them in most of those situations.
So let's. I mean, we don't have a formal list, obviously, that we're looking at here, but I think having one person talk to the police
is very helpful.
Is so important.
Yes.
When you've got all your buddies and they're all wanting, well, they're saying this and this, knock it off. Before you go into the situation, I think you designate who is in charge.
Yep.
Who is the one speaking for our group.
Yep.
And that's helpful. All right, let's back up one. I keep backing this up, but one thing that I do whenever I go to a Pride event or I go to any event where I expect there either to be hostile or unwelcomed is if the police are there, I go straight to police
go talk to them
before I do anything.
Yes.
So I'm going to let them know, hi, my name is Jerry Dorris. I'm one of the pastors at Reformation Church. We're going to be open air preaching. We are going to be on this street corner here. I've got 7 guys with me. We may be spread out, and they'll say, okay. Many times when we've done that, they've assigned people to be keep an eye on us, to be around there. Or they may suggest a different location for various reasons, and so we negotiate where we're going to be. And I think that's me showing respect to the authority.
Well, and not only respect, but we're coming into the situation wanting to recognize their authority and make a statement that we're their friends. We're not against them. I'm not the police's enemy. This is one thing. So guys that get into street preaching, there tends to be a type.
Cocky
arrogant. You probably, at least starting out. But there tends to be a type of guy that does that sort of thing. And a lot of times they can get the mindset, because police are hostile against them and the system is against them and all of these things, they can really have the mindset of almost being not lawless, but scofflaws. And be like, well, actually, over here in the Constitution, it says this, Mr. Officer, sir.
Yeah,
and
don't be that jerk.
Sovereign citizen kind of guys.
Don't be that jerk.
That's not what we're called to do. Christians are not scofflaws. Christians should be the most law-abiding citizens that there are. We should be the best citizens until you push us past what God says.
Yeah, until they break the law.
When you are commanding what God forbids or forbidding what God commands, then at that point, I'm sorry, we're going to be the biggest thorn in your side.
Would you withhold like your name and any of that kind of? If an officer comes up and says,
I usually don't.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I think that's just, it sets the wrong tone from the beginning when they're like, "Hey, let me see your ID."
Yeah.
And the ear's like, "Why do you want to see my ID?"
Yeah.
No, sure. What do you want? I have nothing to hide. I'm here.
I get the point that technically they're not supposed to ask for an ID unless they're charging me with something.
Sure,
they don't
I
have
get
that
that.
right.
But that.
At the same time,
it just sets a tone that I just don't know that we want to be taking.
I don't know that I've ever had them ask for my ID.
No,
they just ask me for my name and I give it to them.
Sure.
Because I don't really care.
Yeah, and especially, I have the ability, you have the ability, others maybe not have that, but I can say, yeah, I'm Pastor so-and-so from, this place and that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not hiding. I mean, I have it in the back of my mind every time we go to something like that I might spend the night in jail.
Yeah,
it's just kind of it's just part of it. Yeah. So, yeah, and I'm not worried about spending a night in jail. If I got to spend a night in jail for open air preaching, this is what it is.
All right, so find the police.
Yeah.
First thing you do.
Yep.
Inform the police about what it is that you're wanting to do.
So I'll do a Jerry and say, let's step back. A lot of times we'll even contact them before. Especially if it's our local guys.
Yeah, we either text them or send a letter. I've sent letters. I've sent them copies of the tracts that I'm going to be handing out at a specific event.
Yep.
That's how much respect I want to show the police. I've even sent the mayor.
Yeah.
But it may have been a way for me to give tracts to my mayor.
Maybe,
because that's how I roll.
Yeah, but just making sure that they know what's going on. It's just better for them to know we're going to be there than for them to feel blindsided by us.
Yeah.
It's just not helpful.
Yeah.
We want to work with them. And that has turned into a very, we don't have any problems with our police.
Okay.
All
right. Police have been called.
Yeah.
You're preaching. We have so much experience here.
This would happen at the abortion mill all the time.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the first Pride event that we did here in Shelbyville. Do you remember at the Parks and Rec place over here? And I think I was preaching, or you were preaching, whichever, maybe you or Hunter was preaching, somebody, and then the police came.
Yep.
And we didn't stop preaching.
Yep.
When they came up. And that's a technique that the police will often do if they're being hostile or antagonistic. They're trying to stop you from preaching the gospel. And this is why a team is really important.
Yeah.
So what happened in that situation is they came up, "Come here, I want to talk to you." And I'm like, "Well, he's preaching. I'm in charge here. You can talk to me." He's like, "Well, I want to talk to him too." And I'm saying, "I'm sorry, he's going to preach while we talk."
Yeah.
And he's like, And I said, and if you want to talk to him, then I'm going to get up and preach. But the preaching will continue here.
Yeah. Respectfully.
Respectfully.
But we were kind of a little defensive in that situation. You remember whatever the knucklehead was that ran that whole place at the time? He was yelling at us.
You remember him barreling at us?
Getting our faces, and he kept saying, "Oh, the cops are almost here. The cops are almost here."
Like he has a right to do that.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, you're about to find out as soon as the cops get here,
that
buddy.
You don't have the right to tell us to not be in this public park preaching
I will
this
never
gospel.
forget him.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Poor guy.
We ended up with the local police, the sheriff department, and state police. And they ended up all just standing there listening to us preach because there was nothing they could do.
There's nothing to do. There was nothing wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was really helpful to have. I think it was Sheriff Moore came in.
Oh yeah,
he was at the pinnacle of all the people that were called in. He knows the Constitution, knows our rights, and that just needed to happen that way.
I stood around and chatted with him that day for 10, 15 minutes.
I went by his car, had my elbow in his window talking. His wife had come with him. I felt bad for him because he was stuck there.
Yeah.
But the preaching of the word continued while they were investigating and talking and trying to figure out what we were doing, that kind of stuff. So we've had police called that way. What if the police tells you to move?
It depends. I mean, so one thing we have done with our local police is a lot of times they'll be like, hey, this place would work better for us, and I don't think it would change anything for y'all. And we're like, great.
Yep.
No problem.
I've had that happen at the U of L.
No problem.
Had that happen.
Yeah, that happened at the U of L game.
Police officer said, you know what? I've seen other open air preachers here, and they go right there, and it's a better spot.
Yes.
Like, because right here is not actually you can't be here.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And we just, no problem.
I will move, even if it's maybe a little less convenient for me.
Yes.
If they give me some plausible reason why it would be helpful if we were not in this particular spot right here. And sometimes it's 20 feet. And we need to be open to that. And just being willing to move 20 feet. You don't want to be that jerk that's like, no, I'm going to stand here, blah, blah, blah. And he's, and they've got to figure out how to move.
In fact, if they tell us to move 20 feet, we'll move 40. Some of you will get that.
Yeah, hopefully they all get that. But I think there's a kindness, just a reasonableness.
A reasonableness.
We're trying to be reasonable here.
Yes.
So at Capitol Pride, we were moved 3 times.
Yep.
And so we started on a public sidewalk. Then we were informed that because the space was rented, that space was actually there, and that we had to go across the street. So we moved across the street, reluctantly, but we moved across the street. And then when we were there, they're like, "You can't be here because you're blocking this spot.
Moved us down to the other corner.
You got to move over to this place." And so we moved these multiple times, and I was thankful that I wore a body camera, and we've kind of gotten away from this as a church. When I go, I wear body cameras. Yeah. I wish they'd had body cameras here 2 weeks ago, because when you have a body camera on, you have officer's name, badge, it's caught.
Exactly what it says.
He sees that camera.
Yeah.
So he's guarded with what he's saying, because it's probably the same camera or a better camera than the one that he's been issued that he's wearing.
Yeah.
So everybody's got their body cameras on. So it's a check
Yeah.
that he better be doing what he's supposed to be doing because he's being recorded.
Yeah.
So I think that's helpful. And then what happened with Capitol Pride is that we were able to take that footage and send that to our lawyer to say, hey, this is what happened. They made us move these multiple times. And he was able then to contact the city, the mayor, and the chief of police and all them and reprimand them effectively.
Yeah.
And they backed down. They apologized for how they had handled the situation.
Yeah.
But that was all done after the fact,
Yeah.
weeks and months later that we had that interaction with them.
Yep.
I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, Frankfort police are just, they're really bad.
And that's a bad place, honestly.
Yeah, a bunch of gays.
Gay affirming, for sure.
Yeah.
Allies. And they prefer that to the preaching of the word or the gospel.
Yeah, well, that was very obvious, too. I mean, they were very aggressive. Way more. I mean, we've been to so many places. Lexington, which is one of the most horrific pride festivals I've ever been to. The cops were great.
Yep. They protected us.
Yes. They offered to walk us to our car and all that kind of stuff. They're just very helpful. But
there's something about our capital that's really liberal locally, even though we have a Republican supermajority. And yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just talking with a member who lives in there, and she would concur that it's a latrine of place. All right. Where else do we talk about in terms of law enforcement?
Yeah, I think just the overall, just make sure you're being respectful and planning ahead, thinking about what you're doing, being intentional, not being a hothead. But at the same time, we need to know what our rights are, and we don't need to let some, bad cop just push us around for the heck of it.
Yeah.
And so there is a time to say, no, officer, I'm not moving.
Yeah.
I'm not. And if you have to arrest me, are you saying, and this is one thing that is good to ask them.
There you go.
Are you saying that if I don't move, you'll arrest me? And they won't say that. What they'll say is, I'm telling you to move. I'm telling you to move. Are you saying that if I don't move, you're going to arrest me?
Am I doing something illegal by staying here right now?
And you need to get him recorded saying that.
Body camera.
Yes. Or phone if you have to.
Yeah, you better have your phone out recording this. Are you saying that I'm doing something illegal right now, and if I don't obey your request to move over here, that I am going to be arrested? Because that's an important question. Because what they're doing, like you do with your kids or something, you have an authoritative tone and position and demeanor, and you're putting it out there, and your kids know your tone. They are going to follow your.
Most of the time that works.
It does.
Yeah.
And police officers have a gravitas and authority, and they come.
Rightly so.
And they should, and we should respect them, and they're going to use that authority, that demeanor, air that they breathe to get you to do what you want. But you got to recognize that unless you're doing something illegal, you don't have to obey that.
Yeah. While I'm going to err on the side of respecting them, whatever they ask me, even if it's not a law, or even if I'm not required to by law, there's going to come a point where if they're pushing me beyond what is legal and I don't think that what is happening is right, I'm going to tell them no.
Yeah.
And you need to know where that line is before you go out there.
Yep.
You kind of need to make that decision, because making it on the fly is not good.
No. Let me use Cynthiana again. Last year, great example of a lot of things. So that officer, he came up to me. Who's in charge? You are, sir. He says, come over here so we can talk, get out all this noise. So we went and we talked, and basically he tried to inform me that we couldn't be there. And I said, sir, these are public streets, and while they've reserved it, this is a public sidewalk. City has paid for, taxpayers have paid for this stuff, and I have the right to stand on the sidewalk. And he goes, you can't. He says, in this space right now, during this time, these are spots that people have paid, and you haven't paid for a spot. You're wanting to stand there, and you're wanting to preach, and you can't do that unless you have paid a vendor fee, because that's what everybody else has had to do. And I said, well, everybody's walking around. I said, can we walk around and preach? And he's like, I don't see why you couldn't do that. You just can't be stationary. That's the argument. I said, so you're telling me that I'll be able to walk around, and I'm going to be using amplification, and I'll be able to preach walking around? He's like, yes. I said, you ain't going to like this any better than that. This is going to be harder for you, but I'm willing to do this. And so that's what we did. So our entire system is wireless.
Yeah.
So we have those JBL wireless speakers. They're battery powered. They don't have to be plugged in anywhere. And so we started out. Austin Keeler is holding one of the JBLs, and I've got a wireless headset on, and I'm like 20 feet over there, and the speaker is someplace else, and we just moved around, and I'm just preaching, and maybe I'll cut it.
That's where that great clip from you in the street with your Bible is.
Yes, I'm just walking along, and we passed that. Austin actually loved that, because he goes, I felt like I was preaching, but I wasn't. I just hold the speaker, because everywhere I went, the speaker. And the
preaching and working out at the same time.
The funniest part, too, was that they were focused on me.
Yeah.
They were like trying to attack me, but it's the speaker 20, 30 feet away that's moving around. That's actually me proclaiming to the crowd. And like I said, it was just as it was more effective. I almost kind of preferred the methodology in the long run to just walk and preach.
And there was no need for you to push him at that point. Officer, no problem. And then you just, because it didn't hinder anything.
Yeah. He was getting a lot of pressure too.
Oh man, they get so much pressure, dude.
All right. Is there ever a time to reprove police officers?
Yeah, I mean, I have told police officers at the abortion mill that they should be standing against this.
Yeah, I've rebuked police officers.
Yeah.
I've openly from the mic rebuked them, especially at abortion clinics.
Yep.
I wouldn't. That's not my go-to place. I wouldn't like start out rebuking police officers, but I think there's a time and place for that.
I'm pretty sure that I'm trying to remember. It seems like I've talked to police officers about standing against pride stuff as well.
Yeah.
But I'm not doing that in an aggressive way. I mean, I have at the abortion mill is probably the most aggressive I've ever been towards police officers because babies are being murdered.
Yeah.
But at gay pride parades, I've had conversations with them, be like, y'all need to be standing against this.
Yeah.
This is wrong. Like, this is absolutely not only you have men, without clothing and the lewdness and all of these things. It's just wrong. Evil's being promoted, and y'all should be standing against this.
Yeah.
And they absolutely could, but they're all terrified that they'll get their tail sewed off by the whoever. And so, anyway, but I don't think they would.
But you've reproved them.
Yeah,
I have too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a time and there's a place for that. I wouldn't lead with that.
No.
These are police officers that are there time in and time out. They're there week in and week out type of a thing. And so I might have a conversation with them. I might reprove them from the mic, but it's not my go-to place.
No.
I've got, especially at abortion clinic, I've got women and fathers that are walking in.
There's an urgency at the abortion.
Yeah. What are some other thoughts on this topic? I want to make sure we cover it thoroughly.
One thing I don't like doing, you see a lot of these, we call them street screechers, guys that go out with the big signs and, you're going to hell. And they will go and almost be decked out, almost in body armor, it looks like. They've got the gloves and they've got the outfit and the cargo pants, and they just look like they're going to, they look like they're private security or something. Does that make sense?
Sure.
You see some of them like that. I just don't think that's at all helpful.
No, it's
just
aggressive.
putting on an aggressive front.
We want to look. We want to be and look like we're not aggressive.
Yeah, because we're not.
I'm not. The only thing I have is my voice, and I'm preaching the gospel to you.
Yeah. So Anyway, I don't even know if that's applicable, but. We don't need to look aggressive. We just need to look dressed normal and preach the gospel.
Yeah. Okay. There's some other things I'm just blanking on them right now, but I know we've had many interactions with police officers that would be helpful here. Just blinking. There's something else I wanted to share. Got anything to fill the air?
I don't want to out anybody. I mean, we've had a lot of great conversations. I remember you weren't there. We were leaving.
Praying with the police. Want to pray with the police. Want to offer to pray for police.
Oh yeah, we've done that all the time, and most of them will say, "Sure, yeah,
let's pray."
Yes.
Yeah.
We were leaving Thunder. We were leaving Thunder over Louisville. It was Marmino and us and. I can't remember who all was there, but we were walking and a police officer was in his car and he's like, "Hey," and waved us down. And he was like, "Are you guys, y'all were the ones preaching?" And we were like, "Yeah." And we struck up a conversation with him. The dude was listening to Jeff Durbin.
Yes.
In his police car.
Yes.
And he was like, and so anyway, he made the connection, and he had actually, I think, either came to a war room or
he'd actually been to our church.
I think he had been to the war room at our church, and anyway, it was just like, whoa.
Don't assume that the police are evil and they're against you.
Don't assume,
These are some of these are good brothers, and they're just police officers.
I can't think of how many times it's happened. Quite a few times, probably anywhere from 6 to a dozen, where a police officer would be like, "Thank y'all for being here."
Yeah.
Quietly, just kind of,
we actually have it on video because we wore body camera at the abortion clinic, but we had video and we didn't want to show it at the time.
Well, we had cops stop on the road at the abortion mill, be like, "Thank y'all for being here."
Yeah,
and that's the kind of stuff I think cops need to be doing just to make the point that they are against those evil things that are happening.
Yeah, let me ask one more question. This is one of the things I was thinking about. Would you ever do anything illegal intentionally to get arrested? Would you do that?
Do anything illegal?
Yeah, if you knew that it was wrong to trespass, would you trespass?
Oh, I have.
I might be asking you a loaded question.
Yeah, I used to at the abortion mill.
But just put your foot on the line.
Well, frankly, yeah. I mean,
those Pharisee women.
So technically, like the owner would have to come tell me not to trespass, or someone there, or a cop would have to tell me before I could get arrested.
Yeah,
it was a minor, class B misdemeanor or whatever, so it wasn't a big deal. But I would trespass so that they would call the cops, because I liked the cops being parked out front with the flashing lights, because that would potentially deter people from coming in.
Yeah, no, it looks like there's something wrong going on here.
So I loved it when they called the cops.
Oh, the clinic escorts would lose their mind. When you if people don't understand, so you can see it here in this example. We've got this line here, and it says trespass, and we would preach, and we would literally put our toe over that line. So you could see that our toe was over the line while we're preaching the gospel, and they would lose their mind.
Stars. They'd just be videoing and
there's babies being murdered behind me.
Yeah.
And I'm upset that your toe is a half inch over the no trespass line.
Yeah.
That is the definition of a Pharisee.
Yeah.
Straining out a gnat while you swallow the camel of murder behind you. And we would... we love that.
Yeah, so they would call the cops and show them the pictures and all that stuff. And of course, nothing ever happened. But anyway, yeah. No, as far as would I do something intentionally illegal?
Like block a doorway to something.
I'm not going to say I would never do that.
Yeah, I don't think I would. I don't think I want to do that. I don't think we need to do that.
I never have. But I'm not going to say I would never block a doorway. I don't know what they're going to make legal.
Yeah, so
just be honest with you.
Wearing a body camera and being asked to move by the police, I think that's enough of a cause and warrant for us to then take legal action against the city to say, hey, they're making me move from a public space. I did obey, but they made me do this. So what I wouldn't do is, if I've been told, like, the city fair, they own this space, there's a 50-foot rule, you got to be over here, they show you the ordinance, and they're like, well, this is a public thing, and I'm going to stay here anyways. And then what you're doing is you're going to get yourself arrested, and you think, well, I have freedom of speech to be here. No, it's enough that they moved you from the spot. Now you have cause. You can sue without having to go to jail for that. You have cause to take a lawsuit against that.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have done this within the abortion ministry stuff, and I'm not going to fault them. I mean, I don't know that I would do that. I don't know that it's the right tactic, but a lot of them have done that.
Yeah.
And
they're good brothers.
Good brothers. And it is what it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's call this topic. If you've got questions for us, you can write to us at snakeonthetable@gmail.com, and we'd be happy to maybe throw it on the show here and hash it out.
Absolutely. God bless.